50 vintages unbroken is very unique in Australia. Mal and I are third generation winemakers, and realistically there's not many third generation wineries or winemakers in Australia. So to actually have that is really part of the history, and certainly the wines from the 70s, when there was only 3 or 4 winemakers in Coonawarra, is a unique piece of history. And also it's a time capsule of the various vintages. We use minimal intervention in our wines, so our wines, as well as reflecting the place, Coonawarra, they also reflect the various vintage conditions from every vintage. So even though there's a common thread running through the wines, there's quite a degree of variation in weight and depth and texture of the wines over the years. So it's a fascinating snapshot. And I guess the other really interesting thing is to see that the label's evolved a little bit over the years, but the 2022 label is still recognisable to the 1970 or 71 label.
When our father Owen first bought property in the area to start the Redman winery as we are now, the original vineyard he did purchase only had Shiraz grapes on it. In the late 60s, early 70s, Coonawarra was certainly to become recognised as a winemaking region, and as people were looking for maybe slightly fuller bodied wines, the Cabernets were starting to take off. So 1967 was the first year he actually planted Cabernet, and making his first vintage of Cabernet in 1970, which was a very, very small volume there. But the quality was exceptionally good. In fact, some ways we're probably lucky to have Redman Cabernet. That our father's first idea with the Cabernet was to actually make a blend of Shiraz and Cabernet and just have one Redman wine instead of have 2 separate wines with the Shiraz and the Cabernet. But fortunately the quality of the wine was outstanding, so he decided to release it on its own in small volume in magnums, and that was the start of Redman Cabernet.
It's interesting to see the wines over 50 years. Obviously every vintage is slightly different, but there is a common thread running through all the wines, and that's that medium-bodied, fruit-flavoured wine, which is what we're trying to capture.